We continue to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month and highlight different Hispanic stories surrounding culture and more. Ilyana Capellan joins us from the interview set with a virtual interview with a Latina filmmaker who has built a reputation for shining a light on a sensitive and often ignored topic with extraordinary clarity, honesty, and humor.
Hispanic Heritage Month is something that spans from September 15th through October 15th. But for Project Enye creator and host of the Selfish Latina podcast, Denise Soler Cox, spreading awareness about Hispanic heritage and being a first-generation Enye is a full-time, year-round job. Denise joins us now. Denise, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Of course, I'm so excited to have you. And I watched Project Enye a couple weeks ago, and that kind of sparked my interest in everything. So tell me exactly what an Enye is, and how did you come up with this movement?
Yeah, so at my first kind of ideation of it, an Enye is a person who is American born and who has at least one parent from a Spanish speaking country. And so as the project has evolved, that experiences this dual identity, anyone that feels ni de aquí, ni de allá, who feels pulled between their Latinidad and also their American side of themselves, should absolutely be able to consider themselves an Enye.
Amazing. And you kind of touched on it, but Latinidad, what is that? As soon as I heard it, I related it to that scene from Selena where Abraham is talking to Selena and Avi in the van, and he's saying, we have to be Mexican enough for the Mexicans and American enough for the Americans, and it's exhausting all at the same time, So what is that to you?
Yeah, so I actually remember exactly where I was when I watched that scene too, and I had already had the idea for the film, but I wasn't doing it. And I was like, oh my gosh, there it is, there's that moment. And it was so well described in this fictional, or no, actually the biographical story of Selena. And how I define Latinidad is what we consider our, Latino. What do we, and all the pieces of it that we consider that identity, I guess, would be our Latinidad. And it's very individual. There is no right or wrong. And I think that's where we can get into trouble, is when we say, well, this is Latino and this is not, and this is Latino, and this is not. The conversation ends up being one of those eggs, or one of those Russian dolls where you open one and then there's another one inside, and then you open that one and there's another one inside. And I've made it my full-time job to talk about this for the last almost 7 years. It's really a fascinating topic.
That's for sure. And I'm sure that the virtual world has kind of taken over, especially now during COVID. And like you mentioned, Hispanic Heritage Month, what does that mean to you?
Well, it means that we get to be front and center. We get permission to talk about these things, to put ourselves in front. And a lot of times we're kind of blending into the scenery, in my opinion, too much. But this month, which is funny because it's actually 2 months, but 30 days between 2 months, we kind of get permission to shine, and shine we must, because there's so many amazing things about being Latino, and we get to share that with everyone and anyone who's interested. So I do it 365, and I know a lot of other people that do it too. But at the very least, people are caring the most, I would say, to hear from now. So we have to show up for it.
Showing up and showing out. That's what Hispanic Heritage Month is all about. You can watch the full interview with Denise on our Hispanic Heritage Month special that will air Sunday, October 11th, here on WDHN.